It had been a long day at work, and I was tired, my mind wandering as I drove down familiar streets. I was thinking about dinner plans when I saw the old path that led to the abandoned park near our neighborhood. Without thinking, I turned onto the road, feeling a strange pull to visit the place we had often passed but never entered. "Don't go there," my husband, Daniel, had said earlier that morning when I mentioned the area casually. I had brushed off his warning as overprotectiveness. But now, as I drove closer, a feeling of unease settled in my chest. The trees cast long shadows, the sun dipping below the horizon, and the park looked empty yet ominous. I debated turning back, but curiosity pushed me forward. Daniel had often warned me about venturing into isolated areas alone, but I assumed I was careful enough. As I parked the car, a chill ran down my spine. The park was quiet, almost too quiet, the kind of silence that makes you hyper-aware of every sound. I stepped out, the gravel crunching under my shoes. The swing set swayed lightly in the wind, creating eerie, lonely creaks. Suddenly, a movement caught my eye, a figure standing near the far edge of the playground, partially obscured by shadows. I froze, heart pounding. I didn't recognize the person, and something about their stance felt unnatural, tense, almost predatory. I reached for my phone, but the battery was dead. Panic surged through me as I realized I had ignored Daniel's warning entirely. The figure began to move closer, slow and deliberate, and I realized that my gut had been right all along. I should have turned around. I backed away toward my car, adrenaline sharpening every sense. The rustling of leaves, the creak of swings, even distant birds felt amplified. Finally, I reached the car, fumbling with keys as my hands shook uncontrollably. I locked the doors and took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing thoughts. As I started the engine, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw the figure standing still, watching me. My stomach dropped. The drive back to the main road felt endless. Every shadow and turn seemed fraught with potential danger. When I finally reached home, Daniel was waiting at the door, his face pale and worried. "I told you not to go there," he said softly, but firmly. I sank into his arms, the tension of the evening dissolving in relief and gratitude. I realized then how right he had been. That night, we talked for hours, recounting the experience and acknowledging the fear I had felt and the danger I had narrowly avoided. I understood the lesson clearly. Some warnings aren't about control, they're about love and protection, instincts honed by experience. Daniel reminded me that safety often comes from listening to the people who care about us and respecting their concerns. I promised to trust his instincts more in the future, recognizing that his plea to turn around wasn't arbitrary. Over the next few days, I replayed the events in my mind, thankful that I had escaped unscathed but aware of how easily things could have gone wrong. I also reflected on the power of intuition, realizing that both my caution and Daniel's insistence had roles in keeping me safe. From that day forward, I approached unfamiliar or potentially risky situations with more mindfulness, combining curiosity with caution. I shared the story with close friends, emphasizing the importance of listening to loved ones' warnings, even when they seem inconvenient. Daniel and I became more conscious of each other's safety, discussing boundaries, emergency plans, and trust in instincts. I realized that fear isn't weakness, it's a signal to pay attention, to respect danger, and to act responsibly. The abandoned park became a symbol in my mind, a reminder of a close call and the wisdom of heeding advice from those who care. I felt gratitude toward Daniel for his vigilance and clarity, recognizing that love sometimes speaks through caution and concern. The experience also strengthened our bond, creating a shared understanding of vulnerability, trust, and protection. I began to notice other situations where warnings were helpful, learning to differentiate between unreasonable caution and genuine foresight. Months later, I drove past the park again, now aware of the potential danger and thankful I hadn't ignored it completely. I realized that life often presents choices between curiosity and safety, and wisdom lies in balancing both. Daniel and I continued to talk about the incident occasionally, using it as a lesson in communication, trust, and attentiveness. The memory remained vivid, a mixture of fear, relief, and recognition of the life-saving value of listening. I understood that sometimes the simplest words, like, "Don't go there," can carry the weight of experience, care, and foresight. From that day forward, I trusted not only my own instincts but also those of the people who truly look out for me. I felt a renewed sense of appreciation for Daniel, for his concern, and for the protective love that had kept me safe that night. The experience reminded me that life is fragile, and mindfulness in small choices can make a huge difference. Even ordinary decisions, like turning around at a fork in the road, can have extraordinary consequences. Daniel and I often revisited the story as a reminder of teamwork, trust, and the importance of listening to the warnings of loved ones. I realized that courage isn't only about stepping into danger, it's also about knowing when to step back.